Welcome back, Naturals fans, into another edition of our off-season conversation series. I'm the voice of the Naturals, Nicholas Batters, and this week we're catching up with left-handed pitcher Drew Parrish. Drew, thanks so much for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show, Nick.
Absolutely. So catch us up. We're a few weeks out from reporting to spring training, but what have you been up to during the off-season?
Well, right after season, I took about a month off, kind of just de-stressed, took my mind away from baseball and kind of reset. Then started working out a little bit, and currently I'm actually out here in Arizona right now for a little winter camp going on. So we're building up, throwing a few bullpens right now, and I'm just starting to prepare for next season coming up pretty soon.
Obviously, like you talk about, your off season is a little different from right after the season ends to where you are right now. But take us through maybe a typical day. What does a typical day in the off season look like for Drew Parrish?
In the beginning, honestly, it's a little boring. The only main things we have to do is really work out, stretch, get a good, stretch in, make sure we're taking care of the bodies. But when the throwing program starts and I start ramping it up, then the days get a little longer. Usually waking up around like 7:38, go to the field, have a nice little throwing sesh for about an hour, then take it to the gym and work out for an hour or so. Then from there, it's post recovery. You got to get the protein shake in, taking care of the body, and getting ready to ramp up for spring training because it happens quick.
I'd imagine that comes at you really, really quickly off the field, away from baseball, away from the weight room. What kind of things are you doing to spend your time during the off season?
I'm a big outdoors person, so I love to hunt, love to fish. Family's involved in it too, so that's just kind of my escape from reality. Get out there, be alone for a little bit in the wild, and just kind of let all my thoughts suppress and come back with a clear mind. And I think so far it's really been helping me kind of prepare mentally for the seasons coming up.
That's really good to hear. On the field, what kind of things are you working on right now to put yourself in the best position heading into the 2022 season?
I mean, it's a lot going on coming off the year that I had. It's always great to say you had a good season and use that as an excuse. But for me, that's in the past, and we got to keep stepping up from where we were last year. So, just working on continuing to improve on my fastball command, staying in shape, making sure that I'm repeating my mechanics, and trying to open some eyes this year for a lot of people that haven't really got a chance to look at me.
Sure. So let's look back at 2021. You started the season in High A Quad Cities, and what a start you had to the season. 15 and two-thirds innings, scoreless. What was working well for you at the start of the season?
I think the biggest thing for me was I wasn't afraid of contact early. So if they were going to beat me early in the season, then they were going to have to hit the ball off me. And I was just, preaching first pitch strikes, getting ahead early and letting the defense work behind me. And it seemed to pay off for at least 15 innings.
And after your time in High A, you got the chance to pitch for Team USA at the Olympic qualifiers. How cool was that experience getting to wear the red, white, and blue and USA across your chest?
Going into that thing, I didn't really understand the magnitude of what I was about to be, presented with, but definitely being very dead last on the totem pole in the chain of service time. So, I didn't really speak out as much or, have the head roll there, which was completely fine with me. I got to sit back and watch some veterans of the game really play, compete, taught me a lot, and just how to act around in the clubhouse too was a big thing. Being around the big time guys. It was honestly probably one of the best experiences of my life up to this point.
And then after you pitched for Team USA, you had the chance to go pitch for the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. You got the bump up to Double A in June. Tell me about that. How did you find out, and how cool was it to get the bump up to Double A after being drafted just a couple years ago?
Oh man, I honestly, that whole season I didn't really expect to get moved up that quick. So just being able to do that is quite the honor, and I was ecstatic for it. But finding out very last minute, I got the flight back home from Florida with the USA trials Sunday night. And Monday morning, I was on a plane flying to meet the team down in Dallas, Texas. So it happened quick. It happened fast. And my first start wasn't the best one for the books, but, it was a little punch in the face, and I had to deal with it, learn from it. And I think that's kind of what sparked my season to and how it ended just from learning from that game against Frisco down there.
Yeah, you mentioned that it was a tough outing against the Rough Riders. What did you take away from that outing? How did it help you have the season that you ended up having for the Naturals?
I mean, I had to learn real quick how to one face hitters at that
Yeah.
level, and you gotta get the ball down, and you got to be able to pitch with some authority. But not only that, just learning to mix and match with our catchers. They were both brand new catchers for me, Freddie Fermin and MJ Melendez at the time. So just being able to kind of mesh with them, and them learning how I threw and me learning how they would call a game and catch behind the plate, just kind of gave me some confidence going in through the season. And by the end of it, we were all clicking very well and turned out to be a great year.
A few outings that I want to take you through. First, the first one that stands out to me, July the 10th in Wichita, you had 7 shutout innings. It was the first time in 2021 a Naturals pitcher went 7 innings. What do you remember from that outing, and maybe what did you learn?
From that outing, honestly, the biggest thing was just attacking the zone, letting them swing, not to be too fine with it because, we got some of the best defenders behind me, but I remember the fastball command was probably a tick higher than what it was throughout the season. I was able to keep them off balance and go inside when I had to really open up the outside part of the plate. But, I mean, that was probably one of the best hitting teams we faced all year. So to be able to do that was quite the accomplishment. And we ended up facing them a few more times down the road. So it was quite the challenge as well.
Speaking of the Wichita Wind Surge, one of the pitchers on their staff was one of your college teammates, Cole Sands, and I believe you matched up with him at least once, if not twice. What was it like to face a former college teammate in Double-A?
Oh, man. Before that season, I worked out with him up in Tallahassee the whole offseason. So, the talking, the banner, it was all there leading up to that game. Definitely made sure to give a little FaceTime call, kind of get him fired up. But he's a great competitor, great competition. I knew toeing the rubber against him, it was going to be something personal. So, I had to go out there and compete. And 2 Florida State Seminoles out there at the same level was pretty awesome.
The month of August was a big one for the Naturals. 3 different pitchers threw complete games. You were one of them in a doubleheader against the Springfield Cardinals. How satisfying was that? I mean, it's only 7 innings, but to get your first complete game shutout against a team like Springfield, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, no, that was a grind for sure. It really opens your eyes to how much every pitch really matters going down the stretch in the 7th inning and all that. When you're getting fatigued. So to be able to grind one of those out in the season in itself was just amazing, and very fortunate to be able to do it.
It wasn't too often that we saw guys get upwards of 80 pitches. Only a couple of times Naturals arms threw over 90 pitches. What did you learn about efficiency when it comes to pitching since everyone was kind of limited from a pitch count standpoint?
At first, it was very tough to adapt, and I think that's where I got hurt the most is I was throwing very inefficient pitches early in the counts and not attacking like I've been saying the whole time. But throughout the season with the pitch counts and the inning limits and just protecting our arms, you got to go out there. You only got so many bullets to use, so you better make sure you use them the best of your ability. And I think that from a mental standpoint, that it's going to be able to carry up to any level. And, from Double-A on, I'm pretty sure that it's all about the same. Efficient pitching is going to win ball games.
Then the last outing I want to ask you about, one of your biggest of the season. It was Game 3 of the Double-A Central Championship Series in Wichita. You pitched 4 innings, struck out 5. You got some really good run support in the middle innings too. Kind of just take me through what were your thoughts headed into that game and just Game 3 in general.
Coming into it 2-0, the team's on a high right now, getting a little cold out there. Been a long season, and I knew the boys were ready to play. That got me fired up, and I knew if I could go out there and just do my job and hold them to 3 runs or less, that our offense would kick in. And got the run support. The grand slam from Brewer really sparked the offense, and, offense and defense both played great to secure this championship.
Well, I talked with Brewer recently, and one of the things that he mentioned was how crazy that final week of the season was, because you guys didn't know if you were ever going to make it to the playoffs, and then it came down to the final day of the regular season. I got the sense that heading into that series with Wichita, the championship series, you guys were pretty confident and felt like you had a good handle on the championship series. But take me through those final couple weeks of the season. How crazy was that build-up?
I mean, we definitely made it interesting on our part, but at the very end of the day, we took care of what we had to take care of, and that was just winning and taking care of one out at a time on the field we were on, and got a few breaks here and there from some other teams that had some clutch hits that were able to send us into the postseason. So by a little stroke of faith and a little luck, we got there. But, we proved that it wasn't luck to be there, and we took care of business and did what we had to do.
Well, one person I want to ask you about is Chris Widger. He was your manager when you broke into professional baseball in 2019 with the Burlington Royals. You had him at the start of 2021 with Quad Cities, and then he'll be the Naturals manager in 2022. Tell us a little bit about Chris Widger. What do you like about him as a manager?
Oh, he's a great manager. His style of managing is very laid back. He's a player's first coach. He understands the struggle, being a salty vet of MLB for years. He understands where we need to be, and he'll hold you accountable to that standard at the very end of the day. So that's what I like about him. Straightforward person, what you see is what you're going to get. But at the end of the day, he really does care about the players, and he'll ride or die for the players.
Over the last 4 or so years, the Royals at the minor league level have had a really good culture of winning. I've talked with Alec Marsh and Brewer Hicklin about this. You were a part of that team in Burlington in 2019 that made it to the Appalachian League Championship Series, though Widge tells me that you weren't a part of that team down in the championship series against Johnson City. He says he gives you a little bit of a hard time about that. What was it like to actually get the chance to pitch in the championship series last year?
Oh, it was awesome. And yeah, they always like to throw a little shot at me when they can get it in. It's good, senseless humor, so I enjoy it. But, that was my first experience in pro ball in itself. So that's always going to hold a little special spot in my heart, excuse me. But, it happened quick. It happened fast. And had to learn real quick that pro ball is a whole new animal in itself, and you go to the bottom of the totem pole really quickly. So it's always climbing from the bottom. That's a part of baseball that I enjoy the most.
Not only did the Naturals win the AA Central Championship in 2021, but the Quad Cities River Bandits won the High A Central Championship as well. Obviously, you were with the Naturals, and the team had already won the championship. What was it like getting to see Quad Cities do the same thing?
I mean, when I was there, they were just on a rampage since day one. So, coming out, winning the season with 5 weeks left in the season, or clinching their division, 5 weeks left, it was just, they were there since day one to take care of business. Widger made that really clear in our meeting. So it was really cool to see them win. And I'm happy for everyone on the team that I got to play with, because they definitely deserve it.
Look, when spring training starts, you're going to be one of, 10 or so guys. They're going to be getting 2 championship rings. That has to be kind of cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's always a good day when you get a phone call asking for 2 of your ring sizes, so that's awesome.
Never a bad thing. Looking at the baseball side of your game a little bit, whenever I ask someone in the Royals organization about you, there's one thing that always comes up pretty darn quickly in our conversations, and that's your changeup. It's been described to me as a Bugs Bunny kind of pitch. Take me through the evolution of that pitch and how it's helped your career development.
Oh, man. I mean, I've had the changeup since pretty much started playing high school, and it used to be my worst pitch. I never had a feel for it, couldn't figure it out, just kind of bagged it. But my pitching coach in high school, kept pushing me to throw it. And around my sophomore, junior years, when something just clicked and I figured out how to throw it, started feeling good out of my hand. And before you know it, it's my number 2, some situations, my number 1 go-to pitch. So, being able to have that in the bag, I think, is what really kind of stands me out from other pitchers in the organization and keeps hitters honest. So, I'm going to ride with it till I can't ride with it anymore. We'll see how long it takes me.
I mentioned you went to college with Cole Sands. That was at Florida State. And in 2019, the Seminoles had a pretty important game in Omaha against our local team, the Arkansas Razorbacks. And that was the last outing of your college career. I know it was a couple of years ago, but what do you remember from that game, getting the chance to pitch in Omaha for the second time and against a really good team in the Razorbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it was no doubt that we were underdogs coming into that. We were underdogs at LSU trying to get into the World Series. So, when I got out to the field and they told me that Arkansas kind of travels good with the fans, I didn't really believe them until that whole stadium was red and there's about 2,000 Florida State
Yeah.
fans. So it was awesome, man. It really opened my eyes to what college baseball is about, the atmosphere, the culture, and being on the biggest stage like that, you got to let it all out. So probably one of the best played games I've played in my college career up to that point. It was my last one, but yeah, what a ride. Fortunate to get the dub.
We wind down our time chatting here with Drew Parrish. A couple of things that I want to touch on before we let you go. What was your favorite memory from pitching at Arvest Ballpark this season?
Favorite memory? Ooh, that's a good question. There were so many. I mean, probably going the whole entire season up to the last week and a half without having a walk off. Then we do back-to-back walk-offs, in 2 nights. That's just something that you'll only see in baseball, and something you probably only see one time in baseball. So that was pretty remarkable. Great team bonding right there.
When you look at 2021 as a year, what were some of your favorite memories? Maybe one or two, whether it's time with Quad Cities, Team USA, or just the Naturals in general. When you look back at last year, what stands out to you?
I mean, 2021 in a whole was probably a huge year to stand out in itself. It was my first full season of baseball for pro ball. I learned the ups, the downs, the mental side of it all. Learned that you got to eat on a budget, and traveling is no joke. So you better be ready for it. But I mean, I'm just fortunate to be where I was in every situation throughout the year, and I'm glad to end up in Arvest. It takes a lot to get there, and I was just fortunate enough to stick around and win a championship with some incredible people. So, to cap off an amazing year.
Last thing before I let you go, obviously we're still a few weeks out from spring training, a couple of months out from the season starting. Do you have any goals that you can share with us for 2022?
Goals, biggest one, just staying healthy, staying on the field, getting out there, and, just picking up where I left off last year, staying in stride, and hopefully good things will happen at the end of this year.
Well, Drew, really appreciate you joining me here for a little bit. Thanks so much for the chat. Best of luck through the rest of the offseason. Hopefully we're chatting again soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Nick.